Yellow, that means you have 1 more minute left. And red, you know what that means. I know that's difficult.
Forming Christ-centered leaders who honor you in every sphere of life. We ask all this in the strong and the powerful name of Jesus Christ. Amen. You may be seated.
Okay, first off, I want to, can everybody hear me okay? All right, I want to thank these candidates for coming. It's a real honor to have you here at Randall University. I'm reminded of, Teddy Roosevelt's deal about the man in the arena. One thing that sometimes is disturbing is people really want to be hypercritical of anybody running for public office, but at least they're putting themselves out there. So keep that in mind. Tonight we have 7 candidates that all the announced candidates for governor of Oklahoma were invited. If there's a candidate not here, it's because they either couldn't make it or they just didn't come. Okay, so I appreciate all these candidates coming this evening. The format that we're going to have is that each candidate will have 5 minutes to introduce themselves to you, and what they want to talk about is their business. If they want to talk about the 1924 Olympics, I guess that's their business. They have 5 minutes. All I'm going to do is call them in the order we had a drawing before we got started here, and I'll call their name. And that's all I'm going to do, because I'm not going to have any opportunity for people to think I'm planning it in any way, what I decide to say about it. I say a lot about it, but I'm not going to say it here. Okay. All right. So when your name is called, if you would be so kind to go to that microphone and give your 5-minute talk. And Mr. Ritchie, John Ritchie, is a student here at Randall University. When you get 1 minute remaining, he'll hold up the yellow card. And then when it's time for you to cut it off, he'll hold up the red card. Students have passed out cards for you to, if you want to ask a question, they're going to collect those cards during the statements by the candidates, and then they'll hand them to me, and they're going to try to combine questions and stuff like that. Unfortunately, with the 7 candidates, we don't have a whole lot of time for a whole lot of questions. I thought it was most important for you to be able to meet the candidates personally and hear from them personally tonight. They'll have 5 minutes, then we'll have 2 minutes to answer whatever the questions. Every candidate will get to answer the same questions. And at the end of that, they'll have a 2-minute closing statement. And I'm going to shuffle the cards for the closing, so it might be a little bit different order that time. Okay, our first candidate is Chip Keating.
Well, thank you all for having us in Randall University. It's an honor to be here. My name is Chip Keating, and I am running to be governor for Oklahoma. Oklahoma's at a crossroads right now, and the path that we travel I believe is really going to dictate where the next 50 to 100 years of this state goes. My background started in 1995 when the Oklahoma City bombing happened, and that very day shaped a very important thing in my life. And I frankly saw the heroism of our first responders running to danger and not running from danger. At that very minute, I knew I wanted to become an Oklahoma State trooper. I was not old enough at the time, but by the grace of God, in 2001, I'm a proud graduate of the 53rd Oklahoma Highway Patrol Academy. I worked nearly 4 years as a state trooper in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa, and I worked the hoot shifts. And for those that don't know what the hoot shift is, that's working 8 to 6 in the morning. And unfortunately, you get to see a lot of the bad side of life working the hoot shift. I put my hands on very dangerous criminals at night. I've been in a lot of compromising situations, but I've seen the heroism in service and the selfless service of what it means to give back to our great state and our community. I thought I was going to be in law enforcement my whole life, and God had different plans for me. I'm married to my best friend. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary, and we got married in 2005, and God led me into the private sector. And in the private sector, I work for a great company, unfortunately, that we've heard in the news is leaving Oklahoma, Chesapeake Energy, where I cut my teeth with a real titan in Oklahoma, Aubrey McClendon. I worked at Chesapeake in 2009. I left Chesapeake and went out on my own, started my own oil and gas business, which I've been operating in Oklahoma City ever since. But I will tell you, as a small businessman, I know what it means to make a payroll. I know what it means, frankly, to have sleepless nights. I know what it means to not know how the next paychecks are going to come and how to put others in front of yourself. But service has always been something important to me. I never have really left service, that trooper inside of me. Once a trooper, always a trooper, like being a Marine. And so I've stayed very involved in our state. I'm past president of the Salvation Army in Oklahoma. I've served as a past president of Children's Hospital Foundation, OU Health, the Hospital Authority Trust, our wonderful law enforcement state pension system. And my wife and I started a endowment for first responders dealing with PTSD and trauma. I was asked to come serve again in 2019, where I was the state secretary of public safety. And I will tell you, that's when I realized courage, leadership really matters serving in that time. I served the state during very challenging times, during the summer of love in 2020, during George Floyd, where we saw anarchists and rioters and looters coming into our great state. And frankly, we watched a lot of our municipal leadership kneeling, with Black Lives Matter instead of enforcing the law. We didn't hesitate. We didn't bend. We didn't break as a state. We activated our state resources, our highway patrol, our National Guard, and we ran that lawlessness out of Oklahoma, and I'm proud of that. We became the model by President Trump of how to deal with civil unrest during that very difficult time in 2020. Also dealt with COVID when that was also a challenging time, and dealing with COVID in our prisons and just different things that, frankly, our country hadn't been faced with. I thought I was going to go back to the private sector and live my life as an active community member and engaged in our state until about a year and a half ago. And I was encouraged to think about running for governor. I didn't say no initially because, frankly, I'm running for governor as a businessman, as a former trooper, because there are major problems in our state. We're 50th in education. We haven't modernized our tax structure since 1930. We have an illicit drug problem in our state with the CCP, the Sinaloa cartel, the Russian mob, and others in this state. We have a mental health crisis. We have a homelessness crisis and others. I'm not a career politician. I've never been elected office. And I ask a simple question. If the folks that have been in office for a long time have fixed the problems or could have fixed the problems, they should have fixed the problem. I'm running to be a governor for Oklahoma, not of Oklahoma, and for greater Oklahoma. The slogan of Oklahoma OK means we're average and marginal. We're much better than that, but we're going to have to make some massive public policy changes to turn this ship around. And I'd be very honored to have your support. It's a real blessing and honor to be here with you all tonight. Thank you so much.
My name is Kenneth Sturgil. Hello, Oklahoma. Thank you very much for having me. My family actually goes way back with the Free Will Baptist denomination. My father-in-law was a Free Will Baptist preacher. Hello, Oklahoma. My name is Kenneth Sturgil. I would love to serve you as your next governor. I'm not running against these guys. I'm running for Oklahoma. I'm running for governor because I feel led by God to run. I'm not a career politician. You vote for me, I'll seek God on every decision I make. And when my terms run up, I'm going fishing. My wife, Becky and I have been married for 41 years this April. We have ran a small business in the Goldsby, Oklahoma area. We have 3 kids and 8 grandkids. It's a big reason why I'm running as well. I am 100% against abortion. I will fight for our Second Amendment rights and all the other amendment rights. I'm 100% against forced vaccinations. I think we need to remove the sexual content books from our public schools, libraries. I support the truth in our public schools. There's only 2 genders. I think we all are for no taxes or at least less taxes. I'm running. I'd like to lower the tax burden on our retired community. We must work on the homeless problem. I would like to work with the church on that because God is the answer for that problem. Also, we got to work on the foreign countries buying up our land. We have to get this right. Our kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and are counting on us. We owe them an apology for the COVID time. I don't think we led well through COVID. I don't think you should ever lead out of fear. I believe that our founding fathers, the original 56, if they would have started our country the way our country's been ran the last 4 years, we would not have a country. We must have the resolve to work through the hard things to see our state become the state God has called us to be in this hour. This can only happen with God's guidance. As we approach the celebration of our country's 250th anniversary, I'm reminded of the price that has been paid for us to be in this room tonight and running for office like we do. And as we see on the news, there's a lot of states that are drifting away from what those original 56 founders believed in. They believed in God's providence, that we would guide us with courage, sacrifice, and reason to create for them, that they created a country like it has never been before. We must get back to 1776 Providence. I want to finish with a prayer I do every time. Pray with me. God, I pray, God, I thank you for our president, Mr. Trump. I pray that you will protect him. I pray that you give him supernatural knowledge and wisdom. God, I pray that you forgive me of my sins, Lord, and that you heal our land and Oklahoma, and that you bring providence over Oklahoma and our country. Amen. God bless Oklahoma, and God bless the USA. Thank you.
Speaker is Mitchell Haynes.
Good evening. I'd like to thank Steve Baez, Randall University, and the students for this opportunity. My name is Lisa Mitchell Haynes, and I am running for governor of Oklahoma. I am a liberty and freedom-loving, faithful believer in Jesus Christ. I believe in limited government because total government is socialism, and that leads to communism. And I believe in our Constitution. I'm 100% behind Donald Trump and his policies, and I believe in the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that comes from ownership of private property. And I will defend that against all evil, like the 8-lane superhighway that's trying to cut through Sapulpa using eminent domain. God told me in 3rd grade that I would be a governor, so I've been anointed. An angel appeared to me in 2023 and said, now is the time. Write your plan and get started. In the last 2 years, I've met with 9,700 business owners and 67,000 people. That's where I've got my plan of work on the back of my cards. I have an aggressive agenda for us. We are 50th in education. We're #1 for marijuana exports. How did we get there, Oklahoma? You need to vote for different leadership, and I will be that different leader for you. My #1 goal is to help cities and streets fix the streets, and cities and counties fix the streets and bridges that have been left neglected. #2, I'm going to fix some water issues all over the state. We have people actually living in Oklahoma without enough water to bathe in or drink in. And water is life. And if you don't have a governor aware of these issues, nothing happens. #3 is education. And I've got an aggressive education plan. Hopefully you'll hear more of that tonight. 4 is guns. No one will take away your guns or your right to open carry. And then my 5th goal is DHS. They need a total overhaul. They're not working for families and children. They're in the business of taking children away from good people. I've been meeting a lot of families that have had their children taken away and they haven't seen their children in 2 years. What they're doing is illegal. And I've got a fireball that's going to take over as the DHS head. I've got an actual person with prison experience that's going to be over the prisons. Right now, we have a CEO that was appointed for that job. I've got a great nursing person that's going to be over to turn the nursing homes from wealthy nursing homes to actual care centers. And I'm going to be the people's governor. I've met with them, I've listened to them, and they don't want me to quit. And even if you're supporting another candidate, I'm going to be the best governor that you've ever had. Thank you for this time, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Our next speaker is Mike Mazzei.
Thanks for being here tonight. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Randall University. Friends, Oklahoma has unlimited potential for growth and prosperity right here in the middle of the heartland where we treasure our Christian biblical values. And we've made some good progress, but we've got some big problems that need to be tackled with some Trump-like tenacity. We've got an out-of-date tax code that is causing us to lose headquarters from companies like Devon and expand to the no-income tax state of Texas. We've got schools that are a mess when only 20% of the kids can read proficiently. And we've got this mess of Chinese communists owning land all over the state of Oklahoma. We've got big plans for solutions, but first, a little bit about myself. I'm married to that tall, good-looking Maisy blonde that was in the lobby named Noelle, and she and I wanted to have a big family. We had some challenges with having kids. We adopted a daughter from Russia, did some fertility stuff that worked out better than expected, and had triplets. Had bonus brother, 5 kids under the age of 5. What a rush. We're very blessed. They all love Jesus and they have jobs. In 1996, we started a financial planning company, and today Trinity Strategic Wealth has $1.6 billion in client assets. That gave me the opportunity to serve in the Oklahoma Senate for 12 years. 10 years, I was the chairman of Senate Finance, and a few years later, I was the Oklahoma Secretary of Finance for 2 years. So you see, I have a mastery in money and finance, and that's the exact skill set we need in the governor's office, because you, the hardworking taxpayers of Oklahoma, have lost billions of dollars due to waste, fraud, abuse, overspending, corporate welfare, green energy nonsense. I am the guy that killed in 2015 the $1.5 billion giveaway to the wind power companies. I fixed the almost bankrupt pension systems, passed lots of tax cuts, and even launched the back to school sales tax holiday. All told, we saved taxpayers $10 billion, and I know how to save billions more. So in the first year of a Maisy administration, we're going to introduce to the legislature reducing the Oklahoma income tax from 4.5% to 3% as part one in a three-part strategy to become a no income tax state. And we're also going to introduce a plan to abolish property taxes for seniors. Now, when it comes to schools, in my first week in office, I will appoint a statewide literacy director, which is exactly what they have in place in Mississippi, which rocketed from 50th in the country in reading outcomes all the way to #1, and we can't be 50th here in Oklahoma anymore. We'll have a 3rd grade reading gate and phonics because kids learn to read by 3rd grade, after which they need to read to learn. And with this mess of Chinese Communist Party landowners all across the state of Oklahoma, I will enforce Article 22 of the Oklahoma Constitution, which forbids the foreign ownership of land, by signing the necessary executive orders to quash a crazy loophole and evict the Chinese communists from the state of Oklahoma. There is no doubt in my mind that when conservatives unite in common cause, we can overhaul the tax code and become a no income tax state. We can fix the schools so kids actually learn how to read, and we can secure our land for the true people of Oklahoma. And by doing so, we can usher in a wave of growth and prosperity right here in Oklahoma. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be with you tonight. Randall University, thank you for the invitation to be here. And special shout out to a young lady from Atoka, where I live, that's a student here at Randall. Sydney, great to see you tonight. Thanks for being here. And to God be the glory for all the great things he has done. I'm Charles McCall. I'm a 5th generation Oklahoman, just a guy from a small town, Atoka, Oklahoma. And I love this state. I believe that we are the best state in the country because we have the best people in the country. The biggest blessing in my life is here with me tonight, and that is my wife, Stephanie. We have just celebrated our 32nd wedding anniversary. Stephanie, thank you for being here. Thanks for taking a chance on me and having faith. Also, I'm father to 2 sons, Chase and Carson. My oldest son is here tonight with his wife. It's great to see you, Chase. Thanks for coming out. And Chase is employed and off my payroll. Proud of your accomplishments. My youngest son, Carson, couldn't be here tonight, but he just graduated college. I'm super proud of him. I am a private sector business guy. Never thought I would be in public service. I'm the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of the Board of AmeriState Bank, a family-owned bank in the little town of Atoka, Oklahoma. I joined the bank 34 years ago, and I have been a part of that organization my entire adult life. My father told me one simple thing when I started in our business, and that is, son, you'll never be successful in this business unless you first go make someone else successful first. If your customer succeeds, you will do fine. But if your customer fails, you fail. And I see politics and public service very much the same way. Let's go out and set the right environment for families and business to flourish. And to the greatest extent, let's get government out of people's lives. I am the authentic conservative in this race. I don't just have great rhetoric. I've actually delivered on conservative outcomes. And I will say this, anything good that's ever come of my life, I give credit to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And those are the values that we embrace in this state. That's why we are the greatest state. But we have to have conservative leaders who will stand up for those values. I was lucky to be Speaker of the House. It was an honor to serve the people of the state. And I saw the worst of times in our state's history, and I got to leave during the best times. But we had to stand up to protect families and children in this state. We stood up. We banned critical race theory being taught in our schools. We said no. We banned the mask mandates during COVID. We banned vaccine mandates during COVID. We protected women in sports. We banned gender reassignment surgeries on minors in this state. I passed, along with some great men and women of the legislature, the largest tax cut in state history. And we're not done. We also made the largest investment in education in state's history, 3 teacher pay raises, and ushering in universal school choice in this state, which puts every parent and guardian in charge of their education decisions for their children. Ladies and gentlemen, these jobs aren't worth doing, in my opinion, unless you're getting big things done for the people of the state of Oklahoma. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time and your time. We passed the toughest immigration laws in the country as well. And I'm going to tell you, illegal immigration, it cheapens citizenship. You talk to anybody who has legally immigrated to this country, and they too would say, we don't like illegal immigration. And I will stand with President Trump like I have all 3 elections, and we will make sure that illegal immigration does not happen in the state of Oklahoma. I am a proponent of getting to zero on the personal income tax. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. That is the biggest impediment to unlocking our state's economy and growth. God bless.
Our next speaker is Gentner Drummond.
This microphone, yeah. Thank you. It's an absolute delight and pleasure to be here in Benjamin Randall University. Thank you so much for hosting and giving this opportunity to have this forum. I'm Gentner Drummond from Osage County. My family came here in the 1890s, and we've been a ranching family up in the north part of our state ever since. When I was about 14 years old, my grandfather sat me down. He said, I need you to make me 2 promises. You're the oldest of 65 in your generation. 1, go serve in the military. None of us have. We've all been ranchers, never got drafted. I was a fighter pilot for 8 years, fought in the Gulf War. 2, when your family is raised, come back to, make sure you raise them in Oklahoma, and then come serve our state. For the last 48 years, that's been my path. I'm very honored to have Wendy Drummond, who is with me this day. She and I have 6 children. They're all married. And that's the second compelling reason why I'm serving you as your Attorney General and hope to serve you as your governor. Quick background about me: Osage County boy, public school educated, Oklahoma State, 8 years of fighter pilot, Gulf War, studied law, came back, built a few small companies. They became big companies. When I took the oath of office in 2023, we had over 500 employees and 5 companies, and I walked away from that so I could be your Attorney General. I ran on 4 promises. 1, we were invaded by Chinese and Mexican lawbreakers in our medical marijuana grow facilities. When I took office, we had 9,000 registered grows and about 3,000 unregistered. I stood up an organized crime task force, and we took the battle to the bad guys. Over the last 3 years, we have closed 10,000 illegal marijuana grow facilities. We have shut down and eradicated $15 billion of black market marijuana. We have crushed the production and distribution of fentanyl. We have liberated women in sex trafficking, and we've liberated men in human trafficking. Every week, we partner with ICE in a raid on a Chinese cartel, Chinese syndicated crime organization, where we deport on average 20 to 25 Chinese a week in the state of Oklahoma. We're presently have civil asset forfeitures against 27 pieces of property. We've been successful with 5 so far. So we're taking back the land from the Chinese and giving it to the sheriff to sell to Oklahomans again. So we're breaking the back. That's promise number 1. Promise number 2, we had a disconnect with the Native American tribes of Oklahoma in criminal justice. I've been working endlessly and ceaselessly over the last 3 years to build back that bridge, and now I'm very proud to have them as my partners in law enforcement. Number 3, openness and transparency. What is seen in the light, it's the disinfection of the sun. And I force elected and appointed officials, state, county, city, to open their records and open their meetings to Oklahomans. And lastly, I've prosecuted corruption throughout the state. I'm taking on State Farm for overcharging you. 30% of you in this room are State Farm customers. They're overcharging you 2 to 1. And they're undercharging, they're failing to make your claims 2 to 1 as well. We're prosecuting them. I'm prosecuting pharmacy benefit managers who are destroying our rural pharmacists. We've recovered $175 million from those robber barons. I'm prosecuting out-of-state big companies that would rather make a profit over our clean water. And we're making them obey. And we've prosecuted fraudsters and corruption because every tax dollar misspent is being stolen from you and me. And we've got to protect that. Those are the 4 promises I ran on. Those are the 4 promises I've delivered. As your governor, I will do exactly what I've done over these last 3 years, stand shoulder to shoulder with President Trump, fight against the Biden administration. 18 times we've sued him and defeated him so that government overreach will not come to the shores of Oklahoma. And we'll continue to promote justice, border security, criminal justice, take the battle to the bad guys, putting Oklahoma first, standing with President Trump, who puts America first. And we will do that in education, healthcare, mental health, and partnership with the tribes to bring revenue to Oklahoma so that we can lower taxes, so that we can leave Oklahoma better for our people by putting Oklahomans first, not politicians, not lobbyists, but the people of Oklahoma. God bless you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jake Merrick.
I think Gentner had a good idea. I'm just going to take it off the stand. I'm Jake Merrick, running for governor, and it is so good to be here. And honestly, standing on the stage like this, it kind of feels surreal. As much as many of you might guess, to run for governor and stand up here with candidates like these, I do feel honored. I really do. And I feel honored that I believe God has called me to such a time as this to come and take a stand, to do something different, to challenge the status quo. And that's exactly what we're doing here in this race. I believe we're doing something in this campaign that has never been done before. We are forfeiting all of the offers of big money, lobbyist and PAC money. And we're saying we're going to go a true grassroots movement across the state of Oklahoma, depending only on the people. I believe that corruption is rampant, of course, in politics. We all know that. But the big question is what to do about it, and where does it start? Well, I believe it starts in the campaign myself. I saw this when I first ran my first race a few years ago for Congress and then for Senate. And a well-meaning conservative who was mentoring me said, "We need good men like you in office, but you may have to make some compromises to get there." And I realized at that moment that if I compromise now, I'll be compromised when I sit in that seat. And it will become easier and easier to make compromises to stay there. That's the pattern I saw when I was elected into the Senate to elect to represent District 22 is I saw a pattern of small, not major, but small compromises to do what was right, to stay in a seat, to continue to do good for the state. And I said, that's what's keeping us from being really great. That's what's keeping us from being righteous, are those small compromises along the way, justifying staying in a seat. What does the seat matter if you don't use it to advance righteousness? So I remind people, the Bible says all the time, I went to Bible school, met my wife. She's also been to Bible school, went to seminary. Give you a little background on myself. We've been married 15 years, have two beautiful girls, 16 and 11. And we adopted our oldest out of DHS. And our other stands today. She goes with us, my little mini campaign manager, as a living, breathing testimony of the goodness of God. My wife was told she'd never be able to have children. And when she first got pregnant, all of her doctors said, when do you want to schedule the abortion? Because you cannot have this baby. And so we love to take our 11-year-old around with us saying, this was the one they said that could not be, that should not be. But here she is, because God is that good. And that, amen. So we stand vehemently against abortion and the ending of sacred life in the womb, but it must also be preserved to the tomb, from the womb to the tomb, all the way through. Life is sacred, and it must be protected. And so, we together prayed about this, jumped into politics, saw a pattern of corruption, and saw some dysfunction in the state, structural dysfunction in the state. Where in the Senate, I saw it's upside down, it's top heavy, it's the top down control. That if you're at odds with the man at the top, then you'll be blackballed, you'll be blacklisted, and nothing with your name on it will get through. And I've always said, I've got thick skin, doesn't hurt my feelings, but what it does mean is that my district that I'm there to represent has no representation in the Senate. And so I said, as long as we have that structure, I would say we don't have a constitutional republic in the state of Oklahoma. That must change in the Senate and the House. And it must be reflected in this position as well. I want to have a bottom-up form of government. I spoke with a Democrat the other day. I knew it was a Democrat because he was a little bit jaundiced. It looked different. No, I'm playing. It was very, very nice man, had a good conversation. But I noticed very quickly the main difference was, I told him, I said, listen, you and I both love people and want to help people. You just want to do it through government, and I don't. And that really boils it down for me. I want to limit government, keep it in its lane, empower the people to solve their own problems, because I believe that when government grows, freedom erodes. And so I want to maximize freedom, limit government. Check me out more at JakeMerrickForGovernor.com. I know my time's about up. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to go to the next part of our program with questions. And John, what we'll do here is when they get 2 minutes, so when they get to 30 seconds left, hold up the yellow, and then the red will come, and we've kind of gone over 2 minutes and everything. So I'm going to try to get to as many of these questions. There's some questions here, guys, that will be pretty interesting. First question is that since all of you are registered in the Republican Party, there is a state question that would abolish the closed Republican primary. And I would like to hear, as far as your leadership of the party, what would be your position on that issue? And I think what we'll do, we'll start down here this time and go that direction, and then second question will come back the other way.
Just stay here.
Pass it on, and then when we get to Mr. McCall, they'll come back this way with that microphone down there. Does that make sense? Okay.
Got it. State question 836 is a travesty and a potential disaster for the state of Oklahoma. It's the way Democrats and the radical left want to force their candidates into the power positions of government because they can't win on their own rights and their own merits, because you, the people of Oklahoma, are conservative, Christian, biblical Republicans. Now, they call it an open primary. It's really a jungle primary. And Tulsa is an unfortunate example. Where I'm from, we ended up with a mayoral's election, and in the final two persons that made the quote unquote runoff, they were both Democrats. And so as a result, we got to choose from one socialist minded radical left Democrat and sort of a less radical Democrat. And today we have those type of policies now pervading the system as the radical Democrat left. We don't want to be like California. We all have to stop this. We all have to get people to vote against it. Have they actually gotten enough signatures? We're still waiting to find out if it's going to be on the ballot or not. But anything and everything that we have to do to defeat this measure, the future of our state, the future of your kids and your grandkids are at stake. So we must defeat State Question 836.
I don't know if we were supposed to sit or stand, but I got to stand. I'll get to Ansi. So I expect that probably everyone down the line is going to have the same response. I'm completely opposed to it as well. It neuters the Republican Party. It makes it completely pointless and powerless. And so when you have a jungle primary, like you said, which is exactly what it is, then it does away with the power of the Republican Party to decide which conservative candidate they want to go represent them. And that's what this is all about, is representation. You know, we know that the Democrats, they love to chant democracy, but we remind them it's a republic. It's a representative republic. And so that's what we want, is a chance as Republican Party with true convictions. We value individualism and limited government. We want to put forth our best candidate who reflects those values. And State Question 836 undermines all of that. So obviously we have to do away with that. I wrestle with whether I should make this next point, but I think that we should. I want to maximize every opportunity to speak truth during this campaign. Currently, there is a case being considered with the Oklahoma Supreme, I believe it's the Oklahoma Supreme Court. Adam Hawley is challenging, and I did an interview with him too. I just want to encourage you to look into it, because he's actually challenging the primary process altogether, the state-funded idea of primaries. And I think he's got a valid point. So it's something to consider, that are we going to take taxpayer money to fund a private entity, which is the Republican Party or the Democrat Party? And so I'm leaning more and more in that direction of let's just pull away from taxpayer-funded primaries altogether. We are a private entity. We can still pick our candidate, send them forth to represent us. It may change who's on the final ballot, but at least we, the party, remain in control. See, when we start giving up control to the government, then it starts eroding freedom. So I want to maximize our freedom as a party as well.
My name's Kenneth Sturgil again. I'm 100% against that. If you drive by in front of my house, there's a sign saying that I'm against that. I don't even have a campaign sign for myself, but I have one. I have one that is against that bill. We don't want to move closer to California. I think we have a lot of people trying to get out of California moving here. We don't need that. That's all I have to say about that.
Good evening. I'm Charles McCall. Once again, State Question 836. I adamantly oppose it. It's the California model of jungle primaries. What else do we need to say? But here's what it really is. It is an attempt to rewrite the rules so we can have different political outcomes in this state. When you hear people say, oh, well, it'll bring out more people to vote. No, it won't. It'll bring out one party, maybe more one party in this state to vote, not more people. I ran 4 election cycles as Speaker of the House in the state of Oklahoma. Our party, the Republicans, we changed out some of those that we elected. I saw Republicans in the House lose their job from the closed primary system because our party got to render their report card every 2 years. But let me tell you, not one time did we lose a Republican seat in the general election in this state in those 8 years. And we won't, but these forces want to change our political system, once again, to change those outcomes. Now, we put in a reform a few years back that collecting signatures for initiative petition ballot, which I think is a good thing in our Constitution. It keeps the people of the state in charge. But it's been exploited, so we've had to reform it. And what we did was said, of the 6 criteria that are collected by the petition gatherers, 4 of the 6 must match the record identically, or that signature is tossed out. So we'll know in a few weeks the fate of this state question. But ladies and gentlemen, do not deceive yourself. Be ready to get out and defeat this state question. Thank you.
Yes, so 836, I think all of us are going to agree, is horrible. California adopted the jungle primary model back in the 80s, and it has totally destroyed their state. But we've got to wake up as Republicans and conservatives. The reality is, look at the mess that's been delivered to Oklahoma through ballot initiatives. And it dates back really the last 8 years. Look no further than loose criminal justice reform, 780, 781, 788. A big issue that I think you've heard every candidate talk about is the illicit drug crisis in our state. These are radical leftists that are coming into our state with outside money to come change our way of life in Oklahoma. We must push back. We have to wake up and counter this very dangerous behavior in money that is not in-state actors. These are Soros, Zuckerberg, multi-billionaires that are pouring money in to change our way of life in Oklahoma. We look at 788. That was a passage of medical marijuana. My friends, we don't have medical marijuana in our state. We have an illicit drug crisis. The reality is Oklahoma last year produced 77 million pounds of marijuana in this state. We accounted for 2 million pounds. 75 million went unaccounted for. That's 60% of all black market marijuana in the United States. That is absolutely atrocious. How did we get there? The passage of 788, a radicalized ballot initiative that has changed our way of life, and we haven't done anything about it. Our policymakers have failed us. This is why we need new leadership at the Capitol that is actually going to go lead this state and make sure we preserve our conservative way of life in this great state. Thank you.
I'm Lisa Mitchell Haynes, and I too am against this bill. You know, we have the very safest and fair way to vote in Oklahoma. Other states are trying to copy us. And now this out-of-state company comes in, and they want to change Oklahoma because they see that we all voted for President Trump. You know, we're a red state, and they want to start changing that. And that's why all these other initiative petitions have come in, like the marijuana thing, that now that you can't go into any city and see the nicest buildings being used to sell Chewies and, you know, other things. And they stink when you walk in, you know. We've got to stand up against this. We also need to change the elections, like the school board elections, to November, so they're done in the light instead of the darkness that they're in now. I stand up for you. I want to do the right things. I'm going to fight against this with all I have, and I will protect and guard our voting rights. Thank you.
Well, we're all in agreement. Next question.
One of the several questions on the issue of abortion, and Oklahoma is
Thank you. Gentner Drummond, Attorney General. I am pro-life from conception all the way through life. We in Oklahoma do a great job of protecting the unborn. We've passed laws and it's very clear. We issue guidance from the Attorney General's office to physicians that is bright. It's a bright line. Abortion is illegal in the state of Oklahoma. We cherish life. Now, Oklahoma, we need to cherish the 2- and 3-year-old, the preschooler, the kid in grade school, and we need to get our young people workforce ready. So we need to prioritize life all the way through. And I think we're all going to agree on our stance on abortion. What we need to hear is what's our stance on people. And our people, it should be pro-people. Too often elected officials answer to lobbyists and the powerful political powers. We need a governor who answers to the people and values every life and adds dignity to every life. We've been taught 2 great principles. 1, put our faith in God. 2, treat each other as we would be treated. And if we live by those principles, then we will be a great state. And that's the leader that you need. Thank you.
Well, we can go with the timing, and then we'll make out the couple, and then okay, then we'll start Maisy after the meeting.
Okay. You know, I thought when the Supreme Court threw out abortion that it was illegal. And as far as I'm concerned, it is illegal. I am pro-life. I know that God delivers babies to us that we can raise and honor with being moms and dads. And I'll protect that right for all of us. But I do know that in case of incest or rape or something, there might be a need for that. So I want there to be an avenue so that they don't have to go through more pain with that. Well, that's how I feel.
I believe life begins at conception, God's law and our founding documents confirm this over and over again, that every human being has the right to life. My voting record over 12 years in the Senate confirms my consistent opposition to abortion. And as a matter of public policy, I am opposed to abortion in all circumstances. I'm particularly grateful for the efforts of your friends, our friends, Representative Jim Shaw, Representative Jim Olson, who have been introducing legislation to ban the mail order abortion pill. It's outrageous that it didn't make it all the way through the process and get votes on both respective floors last year. So I would ask you to call your senator, call your House rep, and say this year when Representative Jim Olson files that legislation, and he has, that those bills need to get to the floors of each chamber for votes, because the people of Oklahoma, you, the conservative Republicans, do not want the mail order abortion bill.
Well, you heard our testimony just a minute ago that we're willing to lay our life down on the line because we believe it so much, that life is sacred. And I believe that life begins at fertilization. The philosophers and the politicians like to do mental gymnastics and debate about personhood. Yeah, it may be life, but is it a person? Well, that same argument can be applied if they're on life support at the other end of the spectrum. And so, no debate here about personhood. It's about life, the sacredness of life. When the sperm fertilizes an egg, a miracle happens. DNA is created, and it becomes completely distinct and separate from the mom. And it's an entirely unique human being. They're at its earliest stages. And there must be equal protection under the law, with no exceptions. That's my stance on it. And, you know, I do agree that we must focus on adoption. I want to streamline adoption and make that easier. We adopted our oldest as well. So we protect them and value them and do everything we can to ensure that baby has a vibrant family to grow up in and be raised. But the discussion here is on abortion. We must protect life. Right now, mifepristone is easily ordered. I do support the pieces of legislation that's working its way through, more and more. When I was in the Senate, it was me and Warren Hamilton that stood as abolitionists in the Senate, completely opposed to any form of abortion. And now there's a growing list of those in the House and the Senate who are signing their names saying, we too value life. So I celebrate that, and I applaud those legislators who are bold enough to take that stand. I'm hoping that gets called to say, sign on and let's support life here in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a pro-life Catholic. I'm a father of 3 beautiful children. We have 1 guardian angel in heaven. We've lost a baby to stillborn. But I will tell you, so I'm unapologetically pro-life. But if there are loopholes in Oklahoma with mail-in order pills, this and that, we have some of the most stringent abortion laws in the country. Let's talk about one of the ways we need to fix this broken state. And let's talk about how broken the Judicial Nominating Commission is and the liberal trial bar that frankly has had its hand meddling in our state's business for a very long time. And look no further and commend the legislature for taking the bold act of passing business courts last year just to have them struck down by the Supreme Court. That is outrageous. Our Judicial Nominating Commission has not been overhauled forever. And so if we are really going to get serious about tort reform and not letting the liberal trial bar meddle in a conservative state's business anymore, we have to have the courage to push back. They're well-financed. They get involved in elections. But look, I've worn body armor actually for a living. We have to elect a governor that is going to have the courage to do the right thing no matter what. This job is the only job I'm signing up for. I don't want to be a career politician. I want to go fix the problems that have unfortunately not been fixed for a very long time in our state. And I really believe the JNC is where we're going to start. And it's got to be done if we're going to push back and frankly enforce laws that are on the books that are loopholes are being created around. Thank you.
I believe any abortion that takes place is an act of murder. I want to tell you a quick story here real quick. My daughter, my oldest daughter, got pregnant, and she was going through the pregnancy. Everything was fine. And at the 3rd month, some problems showed up, and actually the baby, they could tell that one of the lungs was growing too fast, and it pushed the heart to one side and put a lot of pressure on the heart. Well, my daughter went to a different doctor. The other doctor said, well, you're going to have to abort this baby. Well, my daughter was not about to give up that fight. You know, God made a way that if that baby's got a problem, he can actually do that himself with miscarriages. Anyhow, this baby, they looked for a second opinion, found one in Pennsylvania, went there. After a simple thing as a steroid shot, within 24 hours, it had reduced the size of it, and the baby went full term, was born, and I went to her basketball game last Tuesday.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of a personal one for me. I am pro-life, 100% pro-life. And I believe that we should abolish abortion in the state of Oklahoma, no exception. And I'll tell you, I was a high-risk pregnancy for my mother. My mother was bit by a venomous snake while she was carrying me late term. The doctors told my mother that likely the scenario that they would be facing was choosing between my mother's life, saving it, or her baby's life. And they said, we will save the mother's life first. But because of my mother, she said, no, you save the life of my child first. And I am very thankful for that. And that's obviously something personal in my life. But my mother gave me some great advice. She's the most godly woman I've ever known in my life. But she said, Charles, the pregnancy with you and everything you run across in life, give God a chance. Give God the chance. There's a lot of things government doesn't do very well. And matters of the home, does a very poor job. DHS, I'm going to reform that place. Let me tell you, some of the smartest things we did, and we saw the best outcomes, was putting state money into a public trust for our crisis pregnancy centers to go draw that money out and to minister to women in crisis and pregnancies. Because government might be able to feed somebody for a day, but only when you can change the heart can you change the behavior. And only Christ can change the heart. And that's what we need to continue to do. Follow Christ, give God a chance. Thank you.
What we're going to do this time is we'll start with Mr. McCall, and we'll just go back and forth each time, okay? I'm trying to think what the minute security is here. Recently, Governor Stitt issued an executive order concerning tenure. Now, putting the issue of tenure aside, what do you see as what is the proper time for a governor to issue an executive order, and when is it not a proper time to issue an executive order?
Well, I'm glad I get to go first on this one. You know, executive orders, the governor is in charge of the executive branch of government. The governor and the executive branch of government are supposed to implement the law, execute the law. The legislature can pass all the conservative laws and policy in the state of Oklahoma, but if the executive branch doesn't do its job and implement it, there's a failure. There's a failure in the design of government. I have no problem issuing executive orders on anything within the executive branch of government. The governor, the buck should stop with the governor's office, and the accountability should stop with the governor of the state of Oklahoma. Now, the Constitution does give most of the power, the state, to the legislature, not the governor. In some cases, the governor's hands tied behind their back. As governor, one of the first things I'm going to do, the very first thing I'm going to do, is set every director of every agency down the state of Oklahoma and tell them, you, from this day forward, you work for the people of the state of Oklahoma, not the other way around. And if it takes, I will issue an executive order on that. But if it takes an executive order to get higher education in line, I'm going to do it. If it's going to take an executive order to make government work for people of the state of Oklahoma, I'm going to do it. But until the legislature tells me I can't constitutionally or overrides me, I don't have a problem issuing an executive order that protects the people and the families of this great state. Thank you.
Thank you. A little confusing how we're doing this, keeping us on our toes. Look, the reality is the legislature's failed us. The governor on executive orders, we have 380 agencies, boards, and commissions. You know, we're 50th in education. We've got a legislature, a governor, an independently elected school superintendent. Our state needs a modernization. It is 2026 today. This is not our 1907 moment. If it were, would we set up our government the way it is today? The answer is no. Unfortunately, we're in a room, I believe, of all conservatives. We are a big government state. We talk the talk, a red state, but we are big government. We pass marijuana. What do? We create a new agency. Create a new agency with Service Oklahoma. Big government, big government, big government. Our legislature's failed us. The governor, who's accountable to 4 million people, elected by 4 million people, needs to lead and set a vision for the legislature. But my pledge to you, it's time to modernize our state. We have an accountability issue. Everyone points the finger. I've been in the oil and gas business, so I've mentioned to you all, you have the OCC, the Oklahoma Corporation Commission, and they have the DEQ. They both claim to regulate water, but they point the fingers at one another, and it's a logjam. We're not a business-friendly state. So if it's going to take issuing executive orders to get the ball rolling in the state, that's precisely what we're going to do. But I will tell you, it is time in Oklahoma to comprehensively modernize our state government, or we're going to continue to lose to our friends like Texas, Mississippi now, Alabama, Arkansas, Florida. My goodness, we're dead last in a lot of these KPIs. What have they done? They've adopted good public policy, and that's exactly what I'll do as your next governor.
Could you read that question again?
In what way is it proper for a governor to issue an executive order, and when is it not proper to issue an executive order?
Okay. I agree with what most of them say, which that's been kind of the topic today, but executive orders, I mean, we've seen our president use them, which has helped our country get to moving pretty quick, fast, just from him initially coming in. Those are necessary, and then some things we just need to stay away from. But I believe that they are an essential part of our government, and we need to keep them there. Yeah.
I think it's certainly a tool to help get the economy moving or get something done for the people that the legislators will not do. Let me tell you about one of the executive orders that he did this week for high school graduates. If you want to, after you finished all your credits and you have earned that diploma, now to get that diploma, you either have to be enrolled in in college, in a tech school, or you will join the military. That is communism, when you force people to make a decision to get somewhere else. We are not a communist state. I will withdraw that. Also, he says that now if you drive through a construction zone and you're going 10 miles over, your tag is going to be pictured, and they're going to send that to the nearest agent, and you're going to get a ticket. And your tag number is going to be on that screen for, I think, 15 or 20 seconds or minutes. I can't remember that. That is oversight. And that is not the way I think most Oklahomans want to be like. So I'll be very careful of what the executive orders are. Thank you.
For me, it's very simple. Anytime there's a violation of one's constitutional right given by God, the governor steps in, interposes, and defends that constitutional right. Where there is a violation of life, liberty, or property, I would say that would justify an executive order to take action now. Our process is slow and cumbersome on purpose. With 3 branches of government, checks and balances, it should not be easy to pass law, to make a law in the land. It should go through the proper legislative process, and that's a slow process. It's frustrating, but I'd rather it be frustrating and slow than quickly rushing things through and we're stuck with unconstitutional laws. But those do get snuck in. And there are violations of our constitutional God-given rights. And I think that where those are recognized, the governor has an obligation to step in and issue an executive order to defend the people. I could think of a few, like where there's an abuse of eminent domain, when somebody's property is unjustly taken. I think that we should say, how could the governor step in and defend the property rights of that individual? Where there is medical kidnapping happening in the state, taxpayer funded with DHS, I think that justifies the governor stepping in and taking action. Where there is toxic human biosludge being spread on our precious farmland, I think it justifies the governor stepping in and saying, we're going to end this practice today. So there are any time we see the constitutional rights of the people violated, that would justify an executive order.
All power in the state starts with the people. The people in 1907 transferred that power to the legislature. So they're the men and women who live among us and work with us. And so our legislative branch holds the power in the state of Oklahoma and passes the laws that are executed by our executive branch. Only when the legislature has failed or there's an exigent need to enter into an executive order with some new discovery of information is an executive order proper as a bridge between the failure to act and encouraging the legislature to act. That's the use of an executive order, if done properly. Now, it could be abusive and it could be non-used. And we need a governor with the maturity and the balance and the wisdom that will use the executive order appropriately and properly as a gap between legislative action and inaction. Thank you.
The governor of Oklahoma should use executive order authority to fix a dysfunctional agency that the legislature has established or deal with laws that aren't being enforced. For example, to remind everyone that our constitutional privileges come from the truths of the Bible, I will sign an executive order in my first week to return the 10 Commandments back to the Capitol grounds like they were originally intended. I will sign executive orders for the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority and cancel or tell the Oklahoma Healthcare Authority that we will not renew this disastrous managed care experiment and put insurance companies in between you and your doctor or the patients of Sooner Care and their doctor and drive up costs and expenses. I will sign executive orders to deal with this mess of medical marijuana and the crazy loophole that the legislature established in violation of Article 22 of the Oklahoma Constitution, where there's this little affidavit you can sign and check an item that says, I'm an illegal, but I promise to become a bona fide resident of the state of Oklahoma, and that makes it okay for me to buy land. I will sign an executive order that tells the Medical Marijuana Authority you have to raise the cost of doing business in the state of Oklahoma, and you have to restrict the amount of land you can grow marijuana on, because when we shrink the supply and raise the costs, all the Chinese communists will leave. The legislature didn't get done what was necessary, but we need to take care of what makes your life better.
Mr. Maisy, there's been several questions here about ICE and immigration. And so if you could give us your thoughts about what the role of the state is and what's the proper role of the governor is there.
Donald Trump started saving America and fixing the southern border after he got into office in how many days? 1. By enforcing the law and putting ICE to work to deport all of these illegal immigrants out of the country. And in some cases, he had to send ICE to places that didn't want ICE to be around. And so he called on National Guards to support our ICE agents while they were doing the good and proper work to get these criminal illegals out of the country. Now, I like Governor Stitt. I was his first Secretary of Finance, but he made a mistake, in my opinion, when he criticized President Donald Trump for calling up the National Guard in one state to go help out ICE agents be safe and secure while they were helping the president get rid of this illegal immigration nonsense. And history kind of sides with President Trump. If you look at what Abraham Lincoln did, if you look at what George Washington did to suppress problems, restore public order, put down riots and rebellions, they called on the National Guard. And since I'm a history buff, I think I'll side with George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
Well, Donald Trump has done an amazing job. And like he said, day one, taking action, that was the necessary first step, is seal the border, stop the bleeding. And he did just that. And I was glad to see the conservative governors across the nation get behind him and support him. And that was an area where it was very clear whether the state was red or blue, is whether or not they supported that effort. And I think Stitt has done a good job in certain areas, like with the Operation Guardian and cleaning out our prisons as a first step. But, you know, he did stumble and hesitate on that last CNN interview. And I don't think it should be that complicated. If they're not here legally, they need to be deported. It's that simple. And so I would encourage and empower our law enforcement, our highway patrol, to get behind the ICE agents to help them do their job. And let's clean up Oklahoma. So I think that the sealing the border was the necessary first step, but we've got to do more. We got to do better. You know, I know that there is a heart tug there with those that have been in the state for 30, 40 years. And they still, you know, they've got roots, they've got family, and I think this is where people have an issue, is should we deport them too? Well, you go back to, are we a nation of laws or not? Do we have a mechanism to issue work visas and to help them get legal? We do. So the question then is, why are they not going through the legal processes to do that? And I just spoke with a young man, Hispanic guy working construction, and he was in the middle of his process. He's a little bit nervous talking to me about it, but he was opening up saying he was working on getting legal. And I said, you're doing it right. I said, good job. And he said, there's a lot of my friends are nervous. I said, they shouldn't be nervous. If they do what you're doing, going through the legal processes, they should be fine. But if they're not even making an attempt, well, then they're going to have to suffer the consequences, go back to their country of origin and work through the system the right way.
One of us on this stage works with ICE every week, but let me back up to January of 2023 when I took office. Shortly after taking my oath, I was briefed by the FBI that we have over 100,000 people from mainland China in the state of Oklahoma illegally. So that was the impetus behind standing up the Organized Crime Task Force and taking the battle out there. Every day we shut down an illegal grow. We would arrest the leadership and prosecute them for aggravated cultivation and distribution. But the workers that were just here illegally, but just working on trimming the plants, were not breaking the law in the criminal manner, but they were here illegally. So we would detain them, and we would call Homeland Security or ICE and say, hey, we've got 20 Asians east of Oklahoma City. Will you please tell us what to do with them? And they'd say, let them go. Give them a card, tell them to go to Kansas City or Dallas, process, we'll take care of it. Next week, different grow, same guys. We knew them by name, right? They never left our state. President Trump comes in, issues his executive order. Now, when we go on a bust, we don't have to call ICE because they're with us. We have a communications expert standing next to me that's connected to the helicopter that's given us forward vision with a gunman hanging out the window. And we have a paddy wagon from Homeland Security at the back of the caravan. And when we arrest the Grows, we take the 3 or 4 leaders that we prosecute and put in our prison system for 20, 25 years. But every one of those Asians or Sinaloa cartel members that we arrest are deported that day. That's ICE. That's working with the federal government. And thank God for President Trump for standing up for criminal justice and border security. And with those efforts, in concert with my office, we are breaking the back of organized crime, and we're deporting the illegals that are plaguing our state. Thank you.
Oh, could you repeat the question?
The question?
Yeah.
There's been several questions
It was
about ICE and immigration. So what are your thoughts on that whole topic?
I am supportive of ICE, and I understand that they're wanting to open a detention center here. I'm in support of that. I'm also going to say that if you want to disrupt the premises, that's fine, but you will not have your face covered up. And my sister-in-law is from Lima, Peru, and she came the right way. She went to the classes, took the test, and so she's a legal American citizen now. But she's scared to death about ICE. And I don't know why, because she's legal, but she's scared to death. So I understand people that have done the right way are scared because of what they're seeing in other places. But I promise that won't happen here. We won't have those demonstrations here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a former state trooper. My best friends still to this date are current state troopers. And Operation Guardian is being conducted by the Oklahoma Highway Patrol and a task force because we have weak, woke municipal leaderships that won't provide law enforcement resource officers to that task force. President Trump is spot on what he's doing with immigration. Joe Biden's failed policies is an absolute dumpster fire of what he allowed for the 4 years in his failed administration. What we need to do as a state, and a lot of people don't realize the public safety crisis our state is experiencing right now. We are 400 state troopers short in the state of Oklahoma right now. We're 80 OBN agents short in the state of Oklahoma right now. Our leadership has failed us. Public safety. Without public safety, we have nothing. We have to fund. We need manpower, woman power, resources in this. Operation Guardian, the shortage of troopers right now in the state are limiting how many troopers we can assign to that task force. And frankly, our federal law enforcement officers heavily rely on state assets to do their job, whether it's ICE, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the Secret Service, whether the DEA. I know what this work is. I will be 100% committed to getting our funding numbers up and delivering public safety outcomes for the state of Oklahoma. No exceptions. We are going to secure the borders in Oklahoma, and we are going to absolutely 150% cooperate with President Trump in his efforts to deport all illegals out of our great state. Thank you.
Well, I think Donald J. Trump is the best president I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm proud to have passed the toughest immigration law of any state in this country. And it's about time the executive branch starts enforcing it. You know what? Let me just dispel something right now. We don't have a legislative problem in this state. We have an executive problem. As I've said and kind of glazed over and sugar-coated a little bit earlier, The executive branch job is to implement and execute what the legislature enacts. Law enforcement has the highest level of funding they've ever had in state history. I personally pushed for more trooper academies, 40% pay raises, push money down to our sheriffs in 77 counties, because that is the tip of the spear when it comes to all law enforcement efforts in the state of Oklahoma. And I'm going to continue to do that because the number one purpose of government is protecting the public safety. And where the failure has been in this state is in the executive branch. In the executive branch. And I've seen the games that have played. They continue to be played today. They're still deflecting for those on this stage who have served in the executive branch. And as governor, we're going to stop blaming and we're going to start getting things done for the people of the state of Oklahoma. No excuses. The buck stops with Governor Charles McCall. Thank you.
I'm 100% with Donald Trump in what he's doing. I think the man is the greatest president that we've seen in our lifetime. He is very passionate about what he says, and when he says he's come to protect you guys and me and my grandkids, that's what he's doing. These guys out here with the masks on, ISIS, we need to respect them. We need to realize they're out there to protect us, and that's what they're doing. We need them. We had to bring that balance back because there were so many people came in to the country that was that way. I'm a mechanical contractor, so I've been on some of those grow sites, and you go out there and meet those people, and it's want to get out of there as quick as you possibly can. He's doing the right thing. Let's support ICE 100% and our president. Thank you.
For closing statements, the way we're going to do this is opposite order of when we went to the opening statements. You have 2 minutes, and John, same thing, get down to 30 seconds, get the yellow and red, cut them off at that point. Okay, not red. Okay, so we'll start with Jake Merrick.
Grab this one. Well, it's been an honor tonight to speak with you guys, to talk to you about the future of the state of Oklahoma. I have great hope when I think about the future of Oklahoma, mainly because I have great hope in the people. You know, an often quoted verse in Scripture is Proverbs 29:2, that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. But I want to remind people that if I'm elected, I would not be a ruler. I would be a representative of the rulers. And this is the shift in thinking that has to happen in our culture. In our state constitution, it says all political power is inherent in the people. And until the people claim that authority and take responsibility for that authority and steward that freedom well, we'll keep getting what we've always got. But we've got to do something different. A shift has to happen. And I think what you're seeing today in my campaign is the crumbling of what I like to call the campaign industrial complex. This campaign machine that is churning out candidates that make big promises, but quickly forget why they're there. It's to serve the people. That's why, again, I remind you, I'm not taking any lobbyist money, PAC money, because I believe that is the corrupting factor. How do you know I'm telling the truth? Well, the funding speaks volumes. And when I get up there, I won't have the strings and I won't have the hooks. And I'll be obligated only to the people of Oklahoma and to the Constitution and to the Word of God. That's my promise to you. I try to back that up with actual proof, and the proof is in the funding. And so I appreciate you guys. Jake Merrick for governor.com. All you guys listening online, JakeMerrickforGovernor.com. You can find out more there. Be watching for next week. I have a big announcement, and we're going to run this thing across the state.
Gentner Drummond.
I have been your Attorney General for 3 years. Before that, I was just a businessman, a father, and a grandfather. But I'm committed to our state. We have done great things in these 3 years, breaking the back of organized crime, taking back real estate that is owned by Chinese, standing with President Trump, defeating President Biden's overreach, protecting the rule of law, protecting our schools, protecting our young women in schools and school sports, protecting youth from those who would otherwise injure their bodies before they turn 18. I stand for the rule of law. I stand with President Trump. And together, we make Oklahoma stronger by answering to the people, not to the political elite, not to the lobbyists, not to the powerful, but to the people. Oklahoma deserves a leader who is a doer, not a talker. Judge me by my actions, not my words. I'm committed to you. I'm committed to our state. I'm fulfilling a promise made 48 years ago. And I'm excited for the future of Oklahoma with a Governor Drummond who will fight for the people and put Oklahoma first. Thank you.
We now hear a closing statement from Charles McCall.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live in the greatest state in the country, and our best days are still ahead. As governor of the state of Oklahoma, I'm going to continue to deliver on conservative outcomes for the people of this great state. I stand before you tonight as the only candidate who has delivered on a conservative agenda. I led the Oklahoma legislature from the 16th most conservative in the country to the second most conservative in the country. We have a great state, but it's about time that we have a governor that gets in there and executes and implements on that great conservative policy, to effectuate it through our state agencies, to get the executive branch government in line, drain the swamp, and get it working for the people of the state of Oklahoma. We don't have a legislative problem when it comes to education. We have an executive problem. Past universal school choice, the highest level of funding in state history. What we need is an executive branch that will simply go carry it out. And as governor, I'll make sure your children are protected in schools. I'll make sure that they're career ready when they come out and graduate, whether you choose to homeschool them, put them in a Christian school, a charter school, or a public school. We are going to move our state income tax to zero under my governorship. It is why we are losing companies in the state, and I will find all the foreign-owned land in this state, and it's a simple solution. Seize it, auction it back off on the county courthouse steps, and put it back in the hands of Oklahomans. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Charles McCall. I am the authentic conservative in this race, and I would personally like to ask you for your vote and your prayers and your support. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Oklahoma and the United States of America. Thank you.
Thanks again, Steve, for hosting tonight. Friends, no one in this room wants the next governor of Oklahoma to be a watered-down, milquetoast, weak rhino. Now, the fact is, all conservatives are Republicans, but not all Republicans are conservatives. And we, as conservative Oklahomans, must make sure we have a conservative candidate for this election. I am the conservative candidate who can win this race. And I will win this race because, one, we have the money to implement our campaign strategy. Two, we have the best team with the greatest advisors and media experts that have won statewide and federal elections. And three, we are securing the conservative base all over the state of Oklahoma, thanks to help from friends like United States Congressman Josh McKean and former Attorney General, my friend John O'Connor. Now, when you have the money and the best team and the conservative base, you know what you get? A winner. And that's why we're so optimistic about the future of Oklahoma and the chance for you and us, the true conservatives of Oklahoma, to fix the tax code so we become a no-income tax state and we abolish property taxes for seniors. Two, fix the schools so our kids actually learn how to read. And three, secure the land for the people of Oklahoma. And by doing so, we will usher in a golden age of growth and prosperity for our kids and grandkids. Check out MikeForOK.com.
Mitchell Haynes.
Got to get it down at my level. Thank you for letting me be here, Steve, and for Randall University. I am not a career politician, as you can guess. I'm not wealthy, but I am a child of the Most High God. And he picked me as the next leader. And I would like to tell you that these streets and bridges will be fixed, and I will fix the water problems. Boise City is out of water. They don't want to be a ghost town. Coweta has been sending out letters for a year saying, do not drink the water. If you're a senior or you're nursing, don't drink the water. Hugo and Henrietta's water is green and brown and it stinks. They can't drink it. Eufaula does not have clean drinking water. There's a county out at Elk City where the water lines are crushed and the county can't fix the lines and they don't have enough to bathe with. There's a county up in the Panhandle that has the money to put in water lines, and the EPA is stopping them, saying, you have to do a study. They don't want to do a study. They want to put in water lines. They want to do the right thing. I will stand in and I will help them do that. DHS has taken children away from their parents, and we need a governor that will stand in for those parents and allow them to find out what happened to their children. We have a lady from Massachusetts that came 2 years ago to see her ex-husband, who was an undersheriff for Payne County. She was here for 14 days. On the 8th day, her ex-husband took the children and she has not seen them again in 2 years. She said, I've never done anything wrong. I have a great support network in Massachusetts, so she had sole custody, but she's here trying to find out where her children are. You need a governor that she can talk to that will ruffle some feathers and make something happen so she can find out what happened to her family. Another lady told me that DHS came in and took her family, and now the district attorney and DHS live next door to each other. And they told her if they catch her talking bad about them, she'll never see her children again. On my card, it says, if you are a corrupt DA, judge, or elected official, I will remove you from office. It also says, if you're a convicted sex predator, if you rape a child or an elder person or hurt somebody on purpose under general anesthesia, that will be a death penalty case. Thank you. I'm Lisa Mitchell Haynes. You can reach me at mitchellhaynes.us. Thank you.
Now for a closing statement from Kenneth Sturgil.
I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to come and share. It's been a pleasure and to be a part of this process, meet these people. I met Drummond today for the first time, but They're all great people. They're all great people that care about our country and our state. I think as a voter, it's our job to get out there and educate ourselves. I believe that as I've went around and met people that's running for several different positions, God's leading a lot of people to get out there and run. It's your job to get out there, which you guys are doing it, and find out who those people are so that we can get the people God wants into those positions, and that our state will move from being the 50th to the 1st, number one. And I believe we get the right people. We move our church back into our government, and we will get Oklahoma will become unstoppable. Thank you so much. Look me up on Facebook, Kenneth Sturgil for governor. Thank you very much.
Now, closing statement from Chip Keating.
Thank you all so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I've never been a Democrat. I've never voted for a Democrat, and I've never given to a Democrat. We need a governor that is going to be an America first and Oklahoma first governor that is going to stand with President Trump 100% of the time. We have a lot of problems in our state. And I will tell you, this wasn't on my radar forever to run for governor, but I love this great state. Office hoppers, career politicians aren't going to fix the problem. We're 50th in education. We hear a lot about literacy, the Mississippi Miracle. We passed reading proficiency in 2012. Our legislature did. Mississippi emulated our version in 13, and we repealed it in 14. Should be called the Oklahoma Miracle today. We need a courageous leader that is not going to bend or crater to the liberal left. We need to modernize our tax structure. It hasn't been done since 1930. Our government hasn't been modernized. My friends, I've worn body armor. I've arrested really dangerous people. We do have an illicit drug crisis. We can rid this state of it. As your governor, I will sign an executive order day one, and I'll activate the National Guard to support the Highway Patrol and the OBN, and we're running every grow out of the state and the foreign nationalists out of our state. We have a mental health crisis. We have a homelessness crisis. We need a different leader. I would ask one simple question. Those who have been in a position of authority and power to fix these problems we're talking about, shouldn't they have done it already? I'd be so humbled for your support and your vote. Please look us up at Kading2026.com. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Oklahoma.